The new Boost Mobile network is offering unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month for life.
That sounds like a threat.
Then how do you think we should say it?
Unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month for the rest of your life?
I don't know.
Until your ultimate demise.
What if we just say forever?
Okay.
$25 a month, forever.
Get unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month with Boost Mobile forever.
After 30 gigabytes, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Unlimited plan.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hi there, it's your vagina speaking. I know sometimes I have a hard time getting there when we get down, but OMG Cream from Wisp is here to help. The instant arousal makes it easier to, shh. It takes 2 minutes to order online, so let's give it a try. OMG. I literally just went to heaven. I'm gonna try that again. Go tell your friends though, get on Wisp. Order OMG Cream online at hellowisp.com. That's hello, WISP.com, and have it delivered for free. Use code OMG for 15% off your first order.
This is Auditory Anthology, a podcast featuring the best sci-fi short fiction. I'm your curator, Keith Conrad. We release new stories every Tuesday and Thursday. If you like what you hear, I hope you'll take the time to rate and review our show on your podcast player of choice. And be sure to recommend it to a friend. That'll help us grow the show and continue to share these stories with you each and every week. You can also support the show by subscribing to our brand new Substack at auditoryanthology.substack.com. By becoming a paid subscriber, you get each and every episode completely commercial free. If you have a story you'd like to contribute to the series, you can visit submissions.soundconceptmedia.com or just follow the link in the show notes. This week's story is Escape by Lou Evans. As 4 criminals escape from a prison on Titan and celebrate their newfound freedom aboard their stolen ship, one of them begins hearing an eerie knocking from the outside of the spacecraft.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi there, it's your vagina speaking. I know sometimes I have a hard time getting there when we get down, but OMG Cream from Wisp is here to help. The instant arousal makes it easier to, shh. It takes 2 minutes to order online, so let's give it a try. OMG. I literally just went to heaven. I'm gonna try that again. Go tell your friends though, get on Wisp. Order OMG Cream online at hellowisp.com. That's hello, WISP.com, and have it delivered for free. Use code OMG for 15% off your first order.
Four criminals hurried along the prison's corridors on Titan, the largest moon orbiting Saturn. They didn't care about the loud alarm announcing the escape. A siren and a group of guards with sonic blasters would never scare them. The plan had already been implemented, and they simply needed to follow it through to the end and be free. At that very moment, the guards should be going in the opposite direction, believing they would try to reach the spaceport and steal one of the ships. However, the criminals headed for the back of the prison. No one would imagine they sought such an escape route because the terrain on that side was uneven and dangerous, bordering an abyss. But a ship waited for them not too far, and the idea of freedom overcame any fear or caution. In the middle of the corridor, they met one of the jailers, but he was in fact an accomplice who had infiltrated the prison to help in the escape. For that, he replaced a recently hired employee who never made it to his new job. The poor guy was probably lying at the bottom of one of the craters. Armand, the imposter, guided them to where he had hidden the spacesuits. They got ready in seconds and proceeded to the back passage, which Armand opened with his magnetic card. Then they walked out of prison with broad smiles and excited roars. But the joy gave way to sudden disorientation because of a thick orange haze natural to that satellite. One of the men took a few steps forward and suddenly disappeared. The communicators built into their helmets picked up a high-pitched scream that lasted a few seconds, then silence. "Oh, don't tell me you guys didn't know about the abyss. Better stay close to the wall or you'll fall too," Armand casually commented. Making the sign of the cross, Carlo, the youngest, no older than 20, glued himself to the wall for he suffered from vertigo. The others, no less fearful of the hole about a half-meter from their feet, did the same thing. Then, with great attention, they moved along, feeling the oxygen tubes in the back of their suits scratching the rough wall. And only when the wall changed its angle they moved away from the cliff's edge. They walked briskly in single file behind Armand, who was the only one to know the location of the small ship. They laughed, excited, when they saw it up ahead. Titan's dense atmosphere was composed mainly of nitrogen. There were rivers and lakes, not of water but liquid methane and ethane. It would not be pleasant to fall into them, so the men doubled their attention and did not relax until they crossed the terrain and stopped in front of the ship. Only then did they look up to where Armand was pointing and saw Saturn, ringed in different yellow hues, hovering superbly above them. It was a stunning sight, but they felt overwhelmed by the sense of proximity to the storm vortex at the North Pole of the great pale planet. The vortex looked like the unblinking eye of a monster watching them, but since they could not stay there, gazing into the gaseous eye, they got into the spacecraft that flew away from Titan without wasting time. They celebrated their freedom with drinks, and it wasn't long before all five were giggling and slobbering. With the ship on autopilot, they went to sleep. The snoring took over the space vehicle in a matter of minutes. Carlo, however, could not rest. He squeezed his ears, molding the pillow around his head, and he cursed the endless cavernous sounds coming from his companions. He gritted his teeth, remembering every sleepless night in prison because of the insistent fanfare of bagpipes. Now, in the middle of space, the same out-of-tune symphony haunted him. Bang! 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 The metallic sound stood out from the uninterrupted puffs. Was it inside his head? Or outside? Still half dizzy from drinking, he stood and walked out of his cubicle. The snoring of his companions made him realize that he was the only one awake. Carlo gritted his teeth and clenched his fists, once again, affected by the pig grunts that brought out his most destructive tendencies. He took a deep breath and tried to calm himself. He walked around the ship to identify the source of the strange noise. He checked each resting chamber, the restroom, the common area where they ate their meals, the small cargo area where they kept their weapons and tools, and the adjoining chamber with the circuits and the engine. From there, he went to the pilot's cabin and the decompression and decontamination chamber that preceded the hatch. And in all these places he found nothing out of the ordinary. So what the hell had caused the banging? Had he dreamed it? He decided to drop the subject. He scratched his head, yawned, turned around, and went to bed with a sensation of needles poking his forehead. He was not used to drinking and needed to rest, but was again annoyed by the bestial snoring. Bang! 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 Shit! He cursed softly. Had something collided with the ship's hull? Had they reached the asteroid belt between Jupiter and Mars? Perhaps a space pebble struck the ship? But how? The deflector shield was activated. Bang! 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 The young criminal was surprised. The noise was the same as the one he had heard the first time, with the same rhythm and a short interval between each beat. Bang! 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 It had to be his imagination. Otherwise there would be someone outside, which was… impossible, he muttered. Bewildered by the inexplicable phenomenon, Carlo went to the little round window of his cubicle and watched the space. His heart raced. His face and hands grew cold, as if his blood had fled from the extremities of his body and concentrated in his stomach. His eyes dilated. Shit! Shit! Double shit! A woman. She was tall and slender, with shiny skin and long, dark, lustrous hair. She looked at him, curving the corners of her red lips in a seductive smile. Who the heck was she? And how could she be alive on the outside if she wasn't even wearing a spacesuit? The Martian didn't know what to think. Gasping, he tried, before anything else, to take a deep breath, but he didn't dare close his eyes. On the contrary, his attention was fixed on the woman, who still smiled and waved for him. Carlo wanted to call his companions, but he was stunned, and his voice didn't reach his mouth, stuck in his throat. He trembled so much that he thought his bones would crack and crumble at any moment. Shivering at what he thought was a ghost, Carlo dragged his feet to the nearest cubicle, where the pilot slept, and shook his shoulder in an attempt to wake him up. But the man was the one who had been drinking the most, and did not react even to being kicked. On the contrary, his snoring increased so much that Carlo's knees buckled. In response to the endless snoring, he attacked the sleeper with even greater violence. Next door, Armand opened his eyes and got up to check what the problem was. What a surprise he had when he witnessed the boy beating the pilot in his sleep. Carlo felt a strong arm around his neck and was dragged out of the cubicle. Armand had to struggle to get the young criminal to the common area of the ship, for he was out of control and only calmed down when thrown aside, hitting his face on the wall and breaking his nose, which began to bleed. The pain made him stop struggling, although he was still cussing. "You bastard!" At that moment, his greatest desire was to skin Armand alive. Hate was his biggest issue and his most constant companion. Carlo had every imaginable and unimaginable tendency to violence, and he had to police himself all the time not to attack whoever was by his side, be it an enemy, an ally, or someone who was simply passing by. "Are you crazy, boy? Did you keep drinking after we went to bed?" Armand barked, running his hands through his disheveled hair and trying to normalize his breathing after the effort of having towed him there. "I think so." "You think what?" "That I'm crazy. I must be delirious, imagining things." He rubbed his face insistently, smearing his cheeks with the blood that ran from his nose, which hurt to the point of bringing tears to his eyes. "And what on earth could you possibly think of to beat an unconscious man? He looks like he's in an alcoholic coma. What came to your head for you to attack the pilot?" "She did." He pointed to the window, where the woman was spying, but when Armand turned his head in that direction, she hid. "There's no one here but the two of us. What do you even mean?" "I wish there were a woman here. I wouldn't even mind if she was ugly." "Not in here, out there," Carlo said with a crazed expression. Armand exhaled impatiently and rolled his eyes to the top of his head. "You drank too much. How could there be a woman outside? You aren't making sense." "I know I'm not making sense, but she is out there for real." Armand grabbed him by the elbow and lifted him with a violent jerk. "Come on, you're talking crazy. I'll take you to your cabin, wash your bloody face, and go to sleep. And I want to sleep too. No more clowning around, understand?" Carlo wanted to say something to convince him, but couldn't find the right words. Anger full of teeth chewed at his thoughts. Armand pushed him into the cubicle and closed the door. Then he returned to his cabin and threw himself on the bed, grumbling about the inconvenience. Gradually, the grumbling ceased and gave way to the shallow, labored breathing typical of the dying, of the drunk. Carlo could feel his teeth scraping against each other. He laid down and closed his eyes, but the sound filled his ear canal and made his eardrums vibrate. In a last attempt to stay sane, he turned his thoughts to the beautiful space woman. Was she real or a fantasy? After reflecting on this for long minutes without coming to any rational conclusion, he felt his eyelids heavy. In that instant, the woman seemed to him only a sliver of his unbridled imagination, and even the turbulent snorting of his companions was distant. Bang! 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 He opened his eyes with a wild expression. His heart raced. Again, the cold sensation on his face, hands and feet, as it always happened when he was startled. He slid off the bed and dropped to his knees on the floor. He put his hands together, palm to palm. "Oh, Lord, help me! Give me a sign of what I need to do!" he begged the supernatural being his ancestors loved. Bang! 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 Turning his head to the side, he saw her at his cubicle window again and was moved by her pleading expression. That, he thought, was a divine sign. It was the answer to his question. He now knew what to do. Surely his mind was still working under the influence of the alcohol and the sleep deprivation. Otherwise, he would have thought there was, at the very least, something strange about it all. But struck by amazement, he could only see the phenomenon as a miracle. After gesturing to the woman so that she understood his intention, Carlo left the cramped chamber on tiptoes, paying attention to his companion's snores. He knew that he couldn't bring her aboard if someone woke up, and thinking a little more about the case, he concluded that even after giving her entrance, he would have no way to keep the woman because the others would force him to send her back out into the cold and darkness of infinite space. He stopped in front of the armory room. He felt his hands sweating, his forehead throbbing, and blood still dripped from his smashed nose. His thoughts became a blur. The images sometimes sped by, sometimes in slow motion, and all were stained red. In such images, the pilot was decapitated. Armand's limbs were severed from his chest, and each of the others was part of a morbid picture, a macabre work of art painted by extreme violence. In the end, his companions no longer bothered him, no longer snoring. There was only a sepulchral silence. Bang! 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 She wanted him, was calling him. Carlo hurried to the hatch's antechamber, giving the necessary commands on the panel on the wall, opened the passage for the woman. And the last thing his blurred vision registered was the entity floating toward him with an angelic smile.
Auditory Anthology is curated and produced by me, Keith Conrad. Your narrator is Darren Marlar. Be sure to check out Darren's award-winning paranormal podcast, Weird Darkness, available at weirddarkness.com and your podcast app of choice. This week's story was Escape by Lou Evans. It's an original story that was submitted for the podcast. If you have a story you'd like to contribute to the series, you can visit submissions.soundconceptmedia.com or just follow the link in the show notes. Next week, we'll have our spooky sci-fi stories called Tales from the Blue Line on Tuesday, and then our regular Thursday story will be Hanghead Vandal by Mark Clifton. On a desolate Martian plain, a discarded spacesuit stuffed with straw sways from a homing tower, left behind by a crew fleeing the silent guilt of having unknowingly ignited the slow, unstoppable destruction of an alien civilization hidden beneath the dust.
Hey Ryan, that was a fast trip. It was like you teleported.
Yeah, just got in. I'll get all my expenses logged, I promise.
Oh, no, you're okay. SAP Concur uses advanced AI, so your expense report will practically write itself. Quite the breakthrough. It's like we've been teleported into the future.
All right.
So, just curious, would you give us written permission to convert your matter into energy patterns and reassemble you at, say, random travel destinations?
Margaret, are you building a teleporter?
No. Yes.
SAP Concur helps your business move forward faster. Learn more at concur.com.
The new Boost Mobile network is offering unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month for life.
That sounds like a threat.
Then how do you think we should say it?
Unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month for the rest of your life?
I don't know.
Until your ultimate demise.
What if we just say forever?
Okay.
$25 a month, forever.
Get unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month with Boost Mobile forever.
After 30 gigabytes, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Unlimited plan.
Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.